I'm going to talk about knees over toes guy and the ATG thing because I get so many messages about it. And I generally try to not comment on other people's programs. But, well, I shouldn't say that. I like to say positive things about people's programs. People always try to get me to say something negative or to critique other people's work. A lot of the questions I get, people are asking me uh, basically to criticize something, and I don't. Let's start off with a story. So there's this guy at the gym. He's fucking huge. He's jacked. He's got muscles on top of muscles, and he's swinging the weights all around. He's swinging them. He's not like lifting. Like he's not doing curls or presses. He's literally swinging dumbbells. This dude is fucking huge though. It's like, wow, like how did he get so jacked? His training looks terrible though. Everything's all rotating and swinging, and it's crazy because he's swinging barbells. This is a true story, by the way. And this coach who thinks very, I don't want to say critically, he was trying to help. This is not me. This is someone else. I promise this is someone else. This isn't like I'm telling a story about myself in third person. This coach walks up to him and says, "Hey, man, what are you doing here? Like, like this is a odd way to train. What are you doing?" And this guy smiles. This huge man. He's like probably close to 7 feet tall, just jacked as shit, right? He smiles. He says, "I'm training for the lumberjack competition. I've won 7 years in a row now." At that point, the coach actually recognized that he was a dumbass for having interrupted this person. And he goes, "Wow, okay, hey, wow, obviously what you're doing works. Keep at it and good luck this year." And he walked away. Okay. Now, if you would have seen this guy, he's literally swinging the barbell like it's a giant fucking axe. And he's swinging dumbbells. And he's doing all kinds of crazy shit. If you didn't know that he was training for the lumberjack competition, you would think this dude has no clue what he's doing. This dude knew what the fuck he was doing. Apparently he wins the lumberjack competition. I didn't even know there was a lumberjack competition. I didn't know this was a competitive sport. Apparently it is. And this man looked like he was some kind of Viking Norse god. I mean, like when you guys see Chris Hemsworth playing Thor, like Chris Hemsworth is a 90-pound weakling compared to this dude. This dude is fucking jacked. Like he probably could be competing in World's Strongest Man or some shit. But this incident taught me a very valuable lesson. And this incident taught me to never judge someone else's program unless I know why they're doing it or I know what they're doing. So when you see someone doing some weird exercise at the gym, take a moment and pause. Sometimes people don't know what they're doing. That's totally possible. But sometimes people are doing something weird for a very specific reason, because that specific reason happens to fit some unusual situation. Maybe someone has, Ehlers-Danlos syndrome or something. Maybe someone has some type of knee injury or elbow injury, and they're doing this weird movement, and it's like, why are you doing that movement? And it's like, oh, well, I went to like 50 different physical therapists before I finally found one movement that actually helped. And it's like, oh, you should keep doing that. I look at some of the stuff that Stu McGill says, and I'm like, I don't know. That's not really something I would do. But you know what? In a certain context, that's probably the exact thing you should be doing. Like, look up the whole thing about bone callousing. Like, if you don't need it, don't do it. But if you need it, it's exactly what you need, right? Okay, so there's our context here to understand something about the whole knees over toes guy thing. He found something that he needed for his knees, okay? And I would love to actually sit down with him if he would. I'm sure he has no time to sit down and discuss this, but I would love to ask him, what does he do for the people that it doesn't work for? Because nothing works for everyone. Nothing works for everyone. Like, I could sit here and tell you how great Sissy squats are, and I could still tell you that there's probably someone out there that actually makes their knee pain worse. Okay? I guarantee that if you coach enough people and you work with enough people, someone out there is going to tell you that that deep lunge causes them pain. Oh, these deep, ATG split squats. Somebody out there is going to tell you, nope, I have more pain from that. Okay? And that's fine. Like, that's totally fine. So when people ask me about the program, I tell people, go ahead and try it. See what movements work for you and keep those. And then get rid of the ones that don't work for you. Okay? I'll tell you right now, everyone talks about how great goblet squats are. Everyone's like, oh, goblet squats are so great. Dude, I can't do a fucking goblet squat that doesn't make my hips hurt. Now, I can front squat. I can front squat double body weight. My hips don't hurt. I do goblet squats and my hips hurt. Everyone else is like, no, it's a great hip opener. Not for me. Not for me, okay? And that's fine. Like, I'm not telling you that it can't help your hips. Maybe it does help your hips. Maybe your mechanics are different than mine. I don't like to low bar back squat. My back does not like it. It's probably just something about my torso length and my femur length. High bar back squat feels better. Just does. You look at just different movements, different mechanics, different people. We're all built slightly differently. You might find a movement that you have to tweak ever so slightly. You have to change something about it to make it work for you. I like heel elevated squats. Heel elevated squats work great for me. In fact, I can do a goblet squat if I have my heels elevated and I don't get hip pain. But if I do a goblet squat and my heels aren't elevated, I get hip pain. I have no idea why even. Because I don't get hip pain from overhead squats. I don't get pain from snatches, cleans, front squats. I don't get hip pain from those. Goblet squats. I don't care if I do it with a 25-pound dumbbell. 25-pound dumbbell is enough to piss my hip off. Why? I have no clue. Can't answer that for you. It's not like I have a continuous x-ray that's looking at my hip while I squat. I can only guess what's happening in there. Okay? I don't like the seated good morning. I don't. It doesn't feel good to me. When I do the seated good morning, I feel it in my hamstrings, okay? And it pisses my SI joint off. I can do standing good mornings. Standing good mornings work great for me. Every time. Standing good mornings are one of my favorite accessory movements. I feel it in my hamstrings. I feel it in my glutes. I feel it in my low back. It's a great movement for me. Maybe it's not a great movement for you. That's totally fine. I like RDLs. RDLs and good mornings. Standing good mornings, right? For me, the seated good morning just doesn't feel right. It didn't feel right the first time I did it. I have played around with the technique repeatedly thinking, maybe I'm just doing it wrong. No, and I just feel it in my hamstrings. That's the only place that I feel it. And usually my SI joint flares up, and I don't know why. It's just like, that is not a good movement for me, okay? I will tell you, it's no different than how even like a bench press. I have to play around with my grip for a long time. It's like, should I have a wider grip? Should I have a more narrow grip? Like, where does it feel better? You're going to have to play around with things like that. Even like when I squat. Like my hand position whenever I squat, like I'm holding the bar, I do better keeping my hands narrow. There are some guys who put their hands all the way out to the collars. That's just where they feel better, okay? If it seems like I'm not talking about knees over toes program, you guys are missing the point. I'm trying to give you guys like this metaphorical analogy here, explaining how there is variance from one person to another. So, looking at the knees over toes program, looking at zero, looking at dense strength, looking at these things like that, I think there's a lot of great elements in there. I'm a huge fan of hack squats, and I mean like the real hack squat, not the machine hack squat, the actual one that George Hackenschmidt did where you hold a barbell behind your back. I think that's a great movement. I think you can do it with a kettlebell. I think you can take a light kettlebell and do high rep hack squats, and you will find that your knees feel better. I like sissy squats. I probably should shoot a video telling people how to do assisted sissy squats, because the big problem for most people is they don't have the balance to do them. That's actually the big limiting factor. A lot of people struggle with sissy squats because they can't handle the balance part of it. Really easy. You hold on to the sides of the squat rack. Take the balance out. It's the whole reason why we should do like hand assisted things. Like you look at Hatfield squats. Hatfield squats are fantastic. It takes the balance element out, right? There's a lot of things like that, Like if you were to try to do single leg calf raises, but you were doing them freestanding, it would be much harder than if you just put your hands on something. It takes the balance element out. Now you can actually take your calf raises to failure because you've removed that balance component from it, right? So, I like the different step ups. The Peterson step up is a great movement. He now has a Patrick step up, which is slightly different, but whatever. It's totally fine too. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. The ATG split squat, it's fine for me. I feel fine doing it. I can do it flat footed, but I have a lot of ankle mobility. I have very flexible ankles from all the weightlifting because it's impossible for you to catch a snatch or a clean without your knees going way over your toe. And the fact that I played hockey for how many years, where, when you skate, the only way to skate properly is for your knee to go way over your toe. So I have a lot of ankle dorsiflexion. Maybe for you that doesn't work. Maybe that doesn't feel right. And if that doesn't feel right and it causes pain, don't do it. I don't like Jefferson curls. I don't. I'm not a fan of them. They've never felt good to me. I don't care if I do it with 5 pounds. It just doesn't feel good. And I don't feel like I benefit from a Jefferson curl. But hey, a Roman chair doing back extensions, or even just taking a glute ham developer and doing back extensions, I get a great stimulus out of that. Can't tell you why it's so different from one to another, but it is for me, and it probably is for you too. You might find the Jefferson curl is great for you, and you might find that the Roman chair just, no, not for you. And that's fine. A 45-degree back extension, maybe that doesn't work for you. Maybe the Jefferson curl does work for you, and that's awesome too. So I don't have anything negative to say about the knees over toes guy or his program. I really don't. I have nothing but positive things to say. I think that it's it's a well-designed, well-thought-out program. Okay. That being said, the one thing that I'm going to back up on, though, is I'm going to say nothing works for everyone. So just because you know someone who's like, oh, I fixed my knees doing this, doesn't mean it'll fix your knees. I recommend people check out Jake Tura and try the isometrics. The isometrics did wonders for my knees. But, the thing is, I already was deep squatting. So maybe I don't need more deep flexion. For my knees, maybe doing isometric work is better for my knees because I already do so much deep flexion work with, cleans and snatches. Hell, I squat jerk instead of split jerk, which actually I wish I could split jerk. But as I've discussed in the past, I'm terrible at jerks. It's embarrassing. I clean so much more than I jerk. It's not even funny. It's an embarrassing thing that you can clean this weight and then it's like, well, I can't even jerk this. This is even close. So I'm not even going to attempt it. It's like if your best jerk is 275, I'm using pounds here because most people don't know kilos, and your best clean is 335, when you clean 335, are you going to even bother attempting to jerk it when you already know that you've never even hit a 280 jerk? No. I've been a Baji. Only champions can jerk. And that's why I'm not a champion. That's why I'm just some dude who lifts weights and there's nothing to write home about. Okay? I do a lot of deep flexion work from all the squatting, all the front squats, cleans, snatches, etc. I probably don't need a whole lot of deep flexion work. So for me, isometrics helped. Isometrics helped more than anything else. Maybe that works for you. But maybe you don't do a lot of deep flexion work. Maybe you're a sprinter, or maybe you're a power lifter and none of your squats are really past parallel because you're trying to, get the minimum depth you have to get so that you get a legal lift in competition, right? So maybe having some deep knee flexion helps. Maybe you're a basketball player. I mean, jumping is outside 90. So maybe doing some deep flexion work is what you need to kind of complement everything else that you're doing. And so my point being here, it's a good program by itself. In what context is what matters. Who's it a good program for? Is it a great program for weightlifters? Is it a great program for sprinters? Is it a great program for basketball players? Is it a great program for you? It really depends on a lot of other factors. And so I think that you should try it, because I think people should try everything. I don't care what the program is. Give it a try, and if you find some of the movements to be useful and helpful, keep those. And for the movements that you don't find helpful, or the movements that you find aggravate your pain or make things worse, just take those out. It really is that simple. There's no reason why you have to follow these things like it's a prescription. Nothing is a prescription. You can always change something. If I told you I don't like to back squat, because I don't, I front squat instead of back squat. Am I really missing out? Do you know anyone who can front squat 400 pounds but they can't back squat it? Doing front squats has not lowered my back squat. But I tell you what, I spent a whole year doing nothing but back squats, and my front squat did not improve very much. Shit. Yeah. There's a lot of guys who can back squat huge weights, but they can't front squat huge weights. I've never seen someone who can front squat 405 that can't back squat 405, though. So front squats seem like they hit it really well. I don't know anyone who can overhead squat 405 that can't back squat 405. Let that sink in for a moment. I don't know what my max overhead squat is because I can only jerk 275. But I can overhead squat 275. Okay? I don't struggle to back squat 275. If you can overhead squat 275, you can back squat 275. If you can front squat 275, you can back squat 275. Some of those movements, they just, whatever. I'm just making a point to you guys. Front squats, for me, it's easier on my body. So I choose to front squat more than I back squat, okay? More frequently. That's not to say I don't back squat. I preferentially do a lot more front squats than I do back squats. You should do the same with your programming. I'm giving you examples of mine only to give you ideas for your own. Okay? And if you're not competing in powerlifting, you don't have to back squat. You could do safety bar squats. You could do front squats. You could do any other variant you want. If you aren't competing in weightlifting, you don't have to do snatches and cleans. You can do trap bar jumps. You can do some other movement. If you're not competing in powerlifting, you don't have to bench press. You can do incline press. Choose a different movement. I've said this before. When I talked about it in my video of Train Like a Powerlifter, I told you, choose your movement. If you aren't competing in powerlifting, just choose any variant. Choose a variant of a squat. Choose a variant of a press. Choose a variant of a deadlift. And just hammer that. That's what you do. But it doesn't have to be like a competition-style bench press. Fuck that. Do an overhead press. Do a behind-the-neck press. Do an incline press. Doesn't matter. Just have a compound movement that you hammer the same way that someone would hammer their bench press. And so, I hope this gives people ideas. I'm actually, I realize I'm not talking directly about the program because I actually think that it would be wrong of me to tell you guys all the details of the program whenever someone else is selling it. That would be I don't know, let me go buy this program and then just read it off to you. That seems fucked up. So I'm actually trying to avoid doing that. But, I purchased the program so I could take a look at it and, try some things for myself. I'm not continuing to subscribe. It's, if you read it and you do it, I feel competent enough that I can take those elements and just write my own program from those movements. And I don't have anything bad to say about it. There's some movements in there that I thought were really clever and smart. I like a lot of the shoulder stuff, actually. The shoulder, a lot of people don't get enough rotational movements in their shoulders. So I like that. That's something cool. I'll point that out. But, I'm just trying to share with you guys, take the parts that are good, the things that work for you, keep them. And the stuff that doesn't feel good, go find an alternative. Like I said, Jake Tura, the isometrics, they're fantastic. Feels great to me. And there's no reason why you can't combine those two things. You can't, tell me a reason why, well, I do sissy squats and I do some isometrics. That's great. Take multiple things and put them together. Find the things that work for you and use those. You don't have to follow anything like it's a prescription. So if you guys feel differently, go ahead and comment below. If you agree, comment below. If you have an opinion on this and you feel that you have something that you would like to add, because it might help other people, comment below. Tell me what you guys do. Tell me what parts you found useful. Maybe you hate the ATG split squat. Maybe you like the, reverse squats that they do. Maybe you really like the step downs. Maybe you like the slam board squats. Comment below. Tell me what movements helped you the most and what movements maybe you didn't like. like, there's nothing wrong with you not liking a given movement. It doesn't mean that it's a bad program, even if there's a movement in there that you decided to remove. Like the video if you guys like this kind of content. Let me know if you want more of it. I can certainly talk about all kinds of different rehab type stuff. There's a lot of different programs out there, and there's a lot of really good people out there that have so many books. Rebuilding Milo, that's a good book too. You guys should check that one out. And, subscribe to the channel if you want more of this. So I hope you guys have a good day. Take care of your knees.